Okay,
Please go ahead.
thank you. So this is my topic for today and what I'd like to talk on: movies as an art form to inspire creativity. First of all, what is a movie? As you all know, almost I'm pretty sure everybody of you has watched at least one movie in your life. It's a given. It's like a basic necessity to live in today's world. Basically, it is storytelling in a video format. If you want a more technical definition, a movie is basically a set of photographs on a film that is projected on a screen through light. That is what a very technical definition of what a movie is. And now, moving on to what is filmmaking. Filmmaking is the process of making films. It is basically the art and craft of the art of storytelling. There are there are not definite steps to make a film, but however, here are since there are many factors and phenomenon that occurs when you are actually making a film. However, I would like to uh, give a few steps for beginners to make. If you're looking to make a film, I would like to demonstrate a few steps that will help you to create a perfect film for a beginner, actually. Number one is the idea. Here is something I'm pretty sure everybody in every field relates to: the difficulty of coming up with an innovative idea. Every movie starts as an idea in somebody's head. The end product will not, the end product most of the times will not be exactly as what you imagined initially. However, it will serve as a basis for the entire process of making the film. My tip would be, since many ideas come unexpectedly into one's head, I'd suggest you all to carry a notebook or a phone in your pocket whenever you go, so that you all can quickly jot down a few interesting ideas that will help you enhance your movie making process. Number two is the script. The script is where you'll put down your story in a very linear format. Basically, all your dialogues, your scenes, and everything will be put on the entire movie will be transformed into words onto a paper. That is your script. It also acts as a form of communication between the entire cast and crew, so that they know what is going on and what will happen during the filmmaking process. This script is also essential for you, as you will need many refreshing points about your plot, dialogues, lines, etc., different camera angles and everything. The script is basically your set of rules to follow for to make your film. My tip would be to not be afraid to make any changes in your script even after you finalize your script, because more often than not, uh, great ideas and different insights come to you after you finalize your script. So I suggest you all not to be afraid to make changes. Number three is a storyboard. Now here's something that I personally like to inculcate in almost everything: a set of drawings to dictate how a particular scene or a particular shot will play out. You know the true value of the storyboard once you start to communicate to your crew members about how you want a particular scene to be directed, or your actors about how you want to act, about how you want them to act out your your image of the scene. This also helps you to visualize different camera angles and everything, and make your scene perfect. My tip would be to, even if you're not good at drawing, please do not refrain from drawing a storyboard. It's just an additional tool which will help you enhance your movie. Number four is the cast and crew. This is probably one of the most nerve-wracking and exciting part of your filmmaking process. Your cast and crew will define how well the movie is executed. What happens is, many a times the crew members of your movie may not be up to mark. So please make sure to, take in account their past experiences, and do not forget to go through their work in the past, and also hold auditions for your hold auditions, so that the people, you know uh, you can choose your best actor or actress for your role. My tip would be to not feel obligated to include family members and people you love into the movie, because see, this is your film and you need to execute it to perfection. That is what I feel. So if your family members and loved ones do not fit into the movie, please refrain from adding them. I hope that they'll be professional enough to your uh, understand your position. Yeah. Number 5 is the location. The location of a movie helps set is basically the basis for the vibe and the aesthetic that you want the film to be. Basically, you can like create sets for scenes and everything, but to make scenes look more realistic, I suggest you to choose perfect locations for the scenes by spending money on traveling and taking as many pictures of different locations as possible and running them and comparing these pictures to your script, so that a perfect you can decide on a perfect set for your movie. My situation would be sorry My tip would be choose a particular location that is not uncomfortable for your cast, crew, and your actors, and it's not exactly crammed or anything, because until and unless the scene demands so. See, as long as everything that is being executed is according to plan and it is according to the image in your head of your film, then I say go with it. Number 6 is the filming process. The filming process is the main part of your entire process of making a film. What happens is many a times you get confused as to what you need to do and what you don't need to do. So I suggest you to have a shooting script ready, and also have a shooting script ready, and do not panic while shooting your movie, and make sure that everything is in order, like your sets, and make sure that the scenes that you want to film on the particular day, everybody is present and everything. Yeah, so that would be my tip for filming. And finally, post production. If you think after filming a movie your job is done, then you are far from right. Post production is basically the main part of actually finishing a movie. What happens is you have many scenes jumbled in different order, and the film is basically just different scenes just mushed together. So post production, you will edit and put all the scenes in order, and this is called a rough cut. Now to this rough cut you will add sound effects and visual effects and graphics and everything, and all of this will require video editing softwares and sound softwares and different kinds of editing softwares. My suggestion would be that if you do not have the means, or if you do not know, are not well versed with editing, I'd suggest you to hire an experienced editor, so that your film is finally executed to perfection. And here you have your film. Now, who is a filmmaker? As this PPT suggests, a filmmaker is a person who makes films. A filmmaker is not exactly a director or a producer or an actor, but it can also be a director, producer, and actor. Hear me out. It is not an official title given to a person on set. It involves almost everybody who are making the film. Everybody can be called filmmakers. However, usually, like generally right now, a filmmaker refers to either the director or a producer or a person who plays the role of both. For example, a few of my favorite filmmakers are David Lynch, Amir Khan, and David Fincher and Martin Scorsese, and Christopher Nolan, and many others. Great filmmaker. What makes a great filmmaker? A great passion and drive. These two things are required for a filmmaker to be called great. The ability to go to any extent to execute your film to perfection. That is what makes a great filmmaker. I'd like to share a little story, more of an urban legend in the filmmaking world, about this legend named Martin Scorsese. In this picture, you see the person sitting in the car is Robert De Niro, my favorite actor of all time. And the person talking to him is Martin Scorsese, who's my favorite director and filmmaker of all time. So it said that once he finished the original cut of the movie Taxi Driver, the censorship board gave it an NC-17 rating, which translates to about 18 plus rating in England. So what happens? So what happened was he was infuriated since his audience demographic was significantly reduced, and he felt that it did not do justice to his film. So what he did was uh, he was depressed and very angry, and he sat in his room all night. And what happened was he just kept staring at the window, and as the sun rose, he observed that the sky's color changed. This inspired something in him, and he snuck into the editing room and drastically changed the color grading of the film. What happened was, as a result, the everything was darkened towards the end, and all the violence and bloodshed uh, wasn't exactly as visible and graphic as it was. And the blood, the red color blood started to seem more like a blackish brown color, and hence this movie finally got. And after making this change, the movie finally got a rating of R15, which is kind of like PG-13, to be honest. But yeah, so this is what made the film a very huge hit, since it reached a very a very wide scope of audience. So that is what makes a great filmmaker. This to me is the perfect example of passion that is required to make a film, which is very perfectly projected by Martin Scorsese. Now, I'd like to break down a few scenes from this iconic film, The Godfather. I'm pretty sure almost everybody over here or any film enthusiast would have watched this movie. This by many is considered to be the most perfect film of all time. It stars absolute legends like Al Pacino, Marlon Brando, James Caan, Diane Keaton, etc., and is directed by possibly one of the best directors ever in Francis Ford Coppola. So yeah, here are a few scenes. I will be playing these scenes first, and then afterwards, I'll be giving a brief breakdown of each scene and what it meant to me. So number one is the baptism murder. This is actually the almost ending of the first movie. I'm sorry, 1 minute. 1 minute, I'll just share the screen once again. So yeah.
Michael Francis Rizzi, do you renounce Satan?
I do renounce him.
And all his works?
I do renounce them.
And all his pomps?
I do renounce them.
Michael Rizzi, will you be baptized? In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Michael Rizzi, go in peace, and may the Lord be with you. Amen.
So yeah, that scene That scene, did you all finish? Were you all able to hear audio for that scene? Hello?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
we
yes,
were.
yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So basically, this murder scene is the basis for all murder montages in every movie that was made after this. It basically showed, as you all have seen, it basically showed the antithetical notions of, life and death in this scene. And it also showed how cold Michael had become. Michael is Al Pacino in this scene. It basically showed how cold he had become, as he did not hesitate on a very auspicious day to perform such an act of mass murder. And it basically showed how he lost all sense of conscience, and he became his character developed into a very ruthless crime boss. Now the second scene.
I guess we both need a drink, huh? Come on.
Don Corleone.
So yes, this is actually the last scene of the first movie. The previous baptism murder montage was actually the penultimate scene. This is the last scene of the and how the movie ends. Basically, what happens is Kay, the wife over here, Diane Keaton, she falls in love with a very innocent war hero in Al Pacino. But what happens is, because of few incidents in his life and everything, even though he swore that he would never join his father, in the crime world, what happens is all the situations in his life compelled him to, end up being the crime boss that he was towards the end of the show. This scene shows that, the despair and, absolute brokenness in Diane Keaton's expressions in this movie, or sorry, in this scene, portrays how, this Michael Corleone, this person, the one whom, the ruthless crime boss, all the other mafia leaders came kissing his hand, accepting him as the godfather. This person is not the person she married or expected to be falling in love with. And the closing of the door symbolizes that the Michael who was there before, who used to include her in everything he did, has now died. And now the closing of the door also signifies that this new Michael will now never let her into his life ever again. This is the third scene.
That I cannot do.
I'll give you anything you ask.
We've known each other many years, but this is the first time you ever came to the council for help. I can't remember the last time that you invited me to your house for a cup of coffee. Even though my wife is godmother to your only child. But let's be frank, you never wanted my friendship. And you were afraid to be in my debt.
I didn't want to get into trouble.
I understand. You found paradise in America. Had a good trade, made a good living, police protected you, and there were courts of law. You didn't need a friend like that. But now you come to me and you say, Don Corleone, give me justice. But you don't ask for respect. You don't offer friendship. You don't even think to call me Godfather. Instead, you come into my house on the day my daughter's to be married and you ask me for the murder. Money.
I ask you for justice.
That is not justice. Your daughter is still alive.
Let her suffer then. She suffers. How much shall I pay you?
Buonasera. Buonasera. What have I ever done to make you treat me so disrespectfully? If you'd come to me in friendship, then the scum that ruined your daughter would be suffering this very day. And if by chance an honest man like yourself should make enemies, then he would become my enemies. And then they would fear you.
Be my friend? Godfather?
Good. Someday, and that day may never come, I'll call upon you to do a service for me. But until that day, accept this justice as a gift on my daughter's wedding day.
Grazie. Yes, right.
Good.
Yes, this iconic and legendary scene. This probably, and I rightfully believe so, is the best scene of any movie ever in the history of cinema. This scene basically, I cannot describe to you how much I love this scene because this scene introduced me to The Godfather, first of all, and Francis Ford Coppola set the tone for every gangster flick after this movie through this scene. The sheer body language of Marlon Brando, and the way he spoke and the way he delivered that ultimatum to him, and the way he also accepted his offer to for vengeance. It all shows how today's society it stopped believing and stopped having faith in governmental and national institutions because of their corruption and everything. So they have to resort to the underworld and everything to get the justice that they deserve. And moreover, this movie is this scene is what I was talking about before about unpredictability as the filmmaking process goes on. Basically, Francis Ford Coppola had a completely different picture in his head for this scene. However, Marlon Brando, he just asked him to chill, and he basically took over the entire scene. There were very little dialogues for the scene. Most of the scene, most of his acting in the scene is on the spot and method. And even the cat he was holding in the beginning, that cat wasn't included in the script. He himself, had the idea of, since he loved cats a lot, he wanted to include and pay homage to his love for cats by, including one in this scene. I can go on for hours and hours about this scene, but yeah, that this should suffice for now. Yeah, the special thing about this scene is just after the opening scene I showed you, uh, Don Vito, the Marlon Brando, who was the main actor of the previous scene, what happened was his godson comes and asks him for a favor. What he asks is to be included into a part of a movie that this producer, the old man in this guy, this producer rejected him for. So what happened is the iconic line, "I'll make you an offer you cannot refuse," originated then, and he did that. He sent him a warning and made sure that this old man, he definitely reconsiders his decision and takes back his godson into the role. The special thing about this scene is during the rehearsals and everything, they used a fake horse head. But for this particular scene, in order to express realism in the most genuine way possible, what happened was uh, the horse head used in this scene is real, and they had to like dodge a lot of cases after this. But then I say it's worth it because you know this scene is almost too perfect to exist right now. So this shows the passion you actually need to have to be a to deliver a masterpiece like The Godfather.
I frisked him. He's clean.
Don't take too long. I frisked 1,000 young bummers. Senti me? Michelozzo, tu mi capisci, no? Sei italiano come tuo padre? Tuo padre sta male. Quando tu sta meglio, cerchiamo di fare un di ognuno e mettiamo tutto a posto. Sti fissaria, si deve finire.
I frisked him.
So yeah, this scene is basically the descent into madness for Michael Corleone. Al Pacino in this scene. What happens is since these people injure his father, it's a moment for of revenge for Michael. And what he does is, as you've seen, he finally kills the first people in his crime business. So this is basically the first step he takes towards his descent into madness and his descent into the underworld and the start of his ruthlessness and cold-bloodedness. Now, here are a few of my recommendations and movies that inspired me in my life, and which I still, keep rewatching sometimes to, remind myself at the lowest points of my life when I watch these movies. Number one is The Wolf of Wall Street. I'm sure many of you all have watched this movie. And yeah, so basically this movie introduced me to the financial world, and it also, uh, taught me that soft skills and communication are not the only, are more important than what you learn in school and in books. And, it will take you very, it will make you a very successful person in life. Second movie is Forrest Gump. This movie taught me about the different unpredictabilities in life, and how you need to take every opportunity that comes your way, because you never know what you might be good or bad at. So this movie taught me to experiment with many things in life. And number three, The Pursuit of Happiness. This movie is actually very emotional, and my mom and I watched this movie together, and it basically taught me to be grateful for everything I have. I always thought, that my parents used to not do much for me, but after watching this movie, I realized that what I have is everything, and I really don't need much more. All I need is to work hard to make my parents happy. So that is what this movie taught me. And number four is number four is The Big Shot, I guess. Can't see one. Sorry. Yeah, The Big Shot. This movie is something I watched recently, and it absolutely blew my mind. It taught me about the unpredictabilities and the dangers of the financial world. And it also, got me very interested into the trade market and stocks, and I started researching about that. And it started inspiring me to, start investing, and also be prepared for future economic crashes and everything. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Now, this movie is probably the most creative movie I've ever seen in my entire life. It basically mixes a love story with science fiction. That is what this movie is, and it's done to utmost perfection. So this movie taught me how to, be creative and, add a little spice to everything I do, and to, be very original. Then Parasite. This movie basically it showcases the difference between the upper class and lower class of the society in a very scary and yet very subtle manner. So yeah, that is why I recommend all of you to watch this movie. It's a huge eye opener. It sure as hell influenced my life and how I look at society right now. So I recommend that you please watch this. Memento. This movie, believe it or not, I watched this movie before Pulp Fiction. So this movie was basically my introduction to a non-linear plotline. Basically, a non-linear plotline is a set of, a story told in a very, disoriented order, but everything connects towards the end. So that is what this movie is. Basically, it is the original script for Ghajini. That is what inspired Ghajini. So yeah, this movie is the basis for Ghajini, and it basically taught me, it kept me intrigued throughout the entire watch. I basically taught me to start relating unrelated things with each other, to get solutions to problems. And lastly, The Departed. This movie is basically everything I want to be there in a movie. I even like The Departed more than The Godfather. It is my favorite film ever. It basically has my favorite actor, Leonardo DiCaprio, and a stellar cast in Matt Damon and Jack Nicholson and many other people. The ending of this movie is actually one of the most perfect endings I've ever seen. The shock value, this movie proved that shock value is also very important to the script, but if done in a very perfect manner. And finally, how movies inspired me. Yes, this is a picture of me and my dad as a kid. I wanted to put a picture of us watching something, but I couldn't find it. But so this should suffice, I guess. So basically, as a child, I was a very nervous kid. I still am nervous. Like, this presentation did prove that, my stutters and everything, but then that's okay. I got to, express what I actually felt about movies. So basically, as a child, I never really was inspired to uh, think outside the box, or study, learn anything else apart from the textbooks and stuff taught in school. I mean, I was fairly good at sports, but then I did that only because there was a PT period, honestly. And I never took part in competitions. Like, even though I took part in essay writing competitions, there was one time I actually presented a blank paper because I literally did not have any idea what to talk about or what to think. So basically what happened was, I literally do not have a creative bone in my body. Like, honestly, I was a very boring and dull kid, but I was like fairly good at studies and top my class and everything. But that is only because my mom was a teacher and she basically forced me to study and taught me math and everything, which proved to be quite useful. But then there wasn't really much happiness for me in that. So one day what happened was, my dad, he came back home. He came back home very late in the night. Okay, and somehow I didn't feel sleepy that night. And he did his usual routine of putting on a movie. And then and then that night he asked me to come and sit with him and watch that movie with him. It actually wasn't a movie; it was a show named The Mentalist. The sheer creativity of that show, and that was the first time I saw anything like that. Like, it was my first time to witness a protagonist solve crimes and everything. And that became a daily routine with my dad, like, for till at least uh, I before I entered 11th. I used to sit every night with my dad, binge episode after episode, movie after movie. And this really opened my mind. I really discovered that I'm applying whatever I learned in movies in my daily life, and in everything I do, which increased, or basically developed creativity in me. And it inspired me to it even inspired me to open up a blog, write about my reviews over there and everything. So yeah, that is how my dad. So basically, everything I am right now, like my creativity, so my creativity skills, and everything else, like my success in life and everything, I give it to two people. I credit that to two people. One is my father, who got me into movies, and one is actually movies itself, so not people, basically. So yeah, so that is my story and how movies inspired me. And my advice to you all would be, movies is not the only way you can get inspired to be creative or anything. It can be anything. So please keep an open mind towards everything around you, and try exploring new things. Like, Forrest Gump taught me to keep exploring. So please try exploring new things, and find something that you are actually interested in and actually pursue that, so that it becomes an integral part of your life. And trust me, you'll be very happy once you do that. And it will help you throughout your life, and everything you do, that particular thing will inspire you to do better, and make everything, enhance everything, and make it original and make it you. And finally, if you want to get inspired through movies, my suggestion would be to watch every movie with an open mind and a very critical mind. Keep analyzing scenes you like, scenes you don't like, scenes which inspire you, scenes which do not inspire you, scenes you find extremely boring, movies which absolutely blew your mind. Keep everything in your mind, or jot it down in a notebook somewhere. I actually had a notebook where I did all that, but I lost it, unfortunately. But yeah, I still do it. Like, I got into anime recently, so I try doing that with anime too. And so yeah, so that would be my advice to not watch movies with a bias, but with an open mind, and be able to accept everything that the movie is trying to teach you. And to not be offended, basically. Like, this society gets very offended these days. So please do not try to get offended through movies. It is an art form to showcase uh, uh, what is going on in one's head. Okay, so yeah, so that's it for my speech, and I'm pretty sure, I hope that this helped you all in some way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John, for such a beautiful interactive, interaction, such a beautiful discussion, I must say. When I learned a lot of things out of your discussion. I never thought there could be something so much uh, behind the scenes.
Thank you so much.
So uh, the session is all to the audience. You are most welcome. All the listeners here, you all are most welcome to interact with John. If you have something to ask, if you have something to say, the next 5 minutes is all to you. You can interact with John. To the audience, please.
So sorry the speech took so long. I really just winged it. I had an entire speech ready and everything for like 15 minutes, but then I don't know. I just kept talking and it extended. I'm really sorry for that.
It's okay. If at all the audience have anything to add, if the
Sure.
audience has.
My favorite actress of all time is Audrey Hepburn with and actually Meryl Streep too. Actually, Audrey Hepburn for Breakfast at Tiffany's and Meryl Streep in you know The Devil Wears Prada. Anything else?
Yeah, John, I have a question for you. Actually, I really wanted to understand this. I mean, how do you plan to take this passion of yours forward? What are your future plans with movie making?
I really hope that this leads me somewhere in life. Like currently, I'm in a situation in life where I am actually confused as to what I need to do. But then, currently, I'm pursuing engineering. But hopefully, in my life, I at least make one good film. That is all I want from my experience in filmmaking, man. So, one good film to perfection, as I want, is all I need. In my life, man. That's it.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Oh yeah, Indian cinema actually right now is as picked up like uh, a few years ago. It was all about heroism, and I actually didn't exactly like Indian cinema much prior to 5 years ago, because it was mostly an actor. It was a very generic plot. Like 99% of the movies had a very generic plot. An actor, falls in love with a heroine and then saves her from villains, and then finally they break up. There's a breakup in the middle, and then finally towards the in the end they get back together. Like, and there are like songs in the middle. That is basically every Bollywood film that came out, even Tollywood, Collywood, everything. But now, recently, like there were a few movies in the past which were like really good. But what happened was, they really didn't get much recognition. But right now I feel the audience is in a perfect place. Like the audience have started to appreciate Indian cinema more, and started demanding extremely good stuff. Like for example, a good example would be the show Mirzapur. I mean, something like that, like a few years ago, would have been completely unacceptable. But right now I'm really happy that the audience have started to appreciate more original scripts, and which is leading to a revolution in Indian cinema, I would like to say. And like I said, according to me, the best director is Martin Scorsese. And like there are like directors like Christopher Nolan and everybody, but to me, Martin Scorsese is my best director. My favorite genre, actually, my favorite genre is uh, crime. Like as I said, like solving crime, or anything about the mafia world. That is my favorite genre. Like because of movies like Goodfellas and Godfather, and Satya, uh, an Indian movie. Yeah, so that is my favorite genre. like I said, just watching any movie and be open to all movies is the only thing I need. Only thing that is required to change the mindset. Word of mouth definitely plays an important role in how audience views films. Basically, like even a good movie, if like even a movie that you feel is good and others don't feel is good, will definitely influence you to or will definitely convince you to think that that movie is also like not good. So, and the reason Hollywood movies are given more traction is because of unfortunately the Indian audience is like it brings a lot of stuff like bias into watching a movie, like anything offensive to their religion or their beliefs. What happens is they immediately start to cancel the movie or anything. So what I like exactly like Tumbad, what happened was it was a very controversial movie, but in my opinion, it is literally one of the best movies that have come out of the Indian genre. So yeah, what I believe to change that is needed to change this mindset is to block everybody's opinions and watch this movie and watch movies with an open mind and with what you expect from the movie or what you feel about the movie. So that would be my answer. Which movie option do you choose? I'm sorry, I really didn't get the question. Which movie did you choose? Can you please frame it? I really didn't understand. Oh, okay, fine. I got it. So what movie? So if I were to make a movie, what movie would I make? I honestly don't know. Like I haven't started to make a film yet. Like if I ever make, that's an interesting question. If I ever start to make a movie, it would hopefully be something like something which is completely different, and I'd most likely make something in the crime genre, like so a very practical and realistic crime genre. That is my interest. So not a funny one. I'm not that great of a comic. I'll just end up offending the entire world if I make a funny one. So yeah, good crime movie would be my. Oh yeah, The Usual Suspects is in my top 5 list. Usual Suspect. After The Departed, The Usual Suspect, I feel has one of the best plot twist ever. Like it revolutionized plot twists. The Usual Suspects and this movie called The Sixth Sense. These two movies have like the best plot twists I've ever seen.
That's amazing. That's amazing. This, I guess we all understand that whatever John has shared has been liked by people, and it was an interesting topic that people have listened to you very well. That's nice, John. Thank you so much for such an interactive and such an insightful discussion here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And I thank everybody in the audience for asking and interacting so well, staying connected. Thank you so much for that.